There aren't a lot of folks I feel like that go from sales to venture.
Well, especially from an IC role, like straight from
Yeah,
an IC role.
exactly. Typically, it's
Thanks for the
it's
dig there.
okay. The gloves just came off. Let's go.
We're back. I'll be honest, I still don't fully believe you, but hey, we'll take your word for it.
That's some royalty-free shit, people. That's what we do.
We are back again. I'm Puyan from Scratchpad, and today we've got Corp with us.
It's Corp. We're calling
Corp.
it. We're going with Corp today.
We're going with Corp. We're super excited to have Cack with us, and there's just so much that we're going to unpack
legend.
together. And your story is, I don't even know the full story, but just the little bits that I've heard is truly incredible. So we're really excited that you're here. Thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
When did you decide that inside sales was your thing?
I can guess. History degree.
Actually, yeah, there you have a point there, right? So I went to Princeton. I did the like non-practical. I became a history major. Which what do you do with that? I guess you become an academic. But for someone who didn't really love school ever, why I became a history major to become an academic, like there's not a lot of logic in that sequence. So I did run professionally for 2 years for Nike after college. So that was the equivalent of sort of my like I'll go be a ski bum, but maybe like with
But with the sickest gear
results
ever.
orientation. What's that?
With the sickest gear ever. I mean, I was a baseball player and we were Nike athletes, and all we wanted was just more Nike gear.
Insatiable appetite for Nike gear continues. But no, then I went and I was an investment banker because what do you do when you graduate college? You either go to law school, go to med school, or like go work at an investment bank. As far as I was concerned, there was no other career track. And so I worked in investment banking. However, I worked in investment banking in the fall of 2008, which, as you recall, the market Lehman collapsed about 2 weeks after I started working. So
Ouch.
I did investment banking for a little while. And then I realized that investment banking is just sort of a like intermediary job where you work on deals, and
It's not like super fulfilling and fun.
You're shattering the dreams of so many MBA students right
you
now.
learn Excel, which is a key skill for life. However, your question was, your question was why the calling to inside sales? And what I realized was I wanted to go work at a company where the coffee mug was like my brand and it stood for something and we made something. Yep, you've got your coffee mug.
Ready on deck. It's not my branded one. That was a mistake.
I figured I wanted to go work at a really big company because I could apply it to a smaller company. And I wanted to work in a core function. And as we discussed prior, I was ineligible for engineering or product.
Hard skills mostly.
Marketing didn't resonate, and I didn't know what operations was. And so sales seemed like a perfectly adequate entry-level job. And so at the time, now this was 2009, Oracle was renowned for its sales training.
Okay, so you found your way to Oracle because that was the beacon of sales.
Pinnacle of sales training.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a career, nosedive for what some of my college classmates would have considered. All my college classmates were in New York with like fancy job titles, and I was an inside sales rep selling Oracle databases, making, I won't quote the dollar figures, but like insignificant sums of money.
At what point did you say, I've had enough of sales?
Right. So I did Oracle for a few years. Then I went to Cloudera, which was sort of the, go work at a startup and appreciate that there are more vendors than just Oracle price list of 14 pages. I wasn't sure I wanted to just rise the ranks of sales. I would be lying if I didn't also admit that there was some family pressure. I was like the deadbeat that didn't have a graduate degree. My sister went to law school and so did my mother and my father. And so there was a little bit of like, okay, when you grow up and like have a real job, that's probably going to happen after business school. I was familiar with venture capital from working in banking. So I think I had like the secret dream of working in venture, but I didn't really want to let on to anyone because venture jobs are few and far between. So I didn't really want to broadcast something that I was going to like utterly fail at.
You decided, okay, maybe venture is the right path. Did you know at that point that venture is just another sales job?
No, with that clarity, I did not.
At what point did you realize that? And was that an oh shit moment? Like, what did I do? Or was it, okay, I got this?
No, that was this is amazing moment.
Her parents aren't mad anymore.
Parents
So
off
she's
the
free.
back. No, I think so. I did a summer internship in venture between my first and second years of business school, converted it into a full-time job. So when I started full-time, part of the job as of a non-senior person, whatever your title, because there are aplenty, is a lot of it is a sourcing job, sourcing deals, right? Sourcing opportunities. And it's a combination of that and then sort of deal execution.
Did you find that your prospects were more amenable to your calls when you're kind of trying to say, hey, we'd love to explore maybe giving you a few $1,000,000 or whatever, versus like, hey,
I know.
50K for a Proca database.
Exactly.
Yeah, get the budget from them.
That summer that I said that I interned at a venture firm, I actually had 2 internships. I left on a Friday from a startup internship, which was like a walk in the woods. And then I started on Monday at a venture firm. And the hit rate on my outbound emails from Friday to Monday, where my email address was at venturefirm.com, was like 10 out of 10 from 0 out of 10 on the Friday before. So yes, it turns out when you're selling money, people generally respond.
It's an interesting path because there aren't a lot of folks, I feel like, that go from sales to venture.
Well, especially from an IC role. Like straight
yeah, exactly. Role. Typically it's,
Thanks for the dig there.
Okay, the gloves just came off. Let's go.
Was that a dig? No, I mean, it's true. Like, I think a lot of sales people...
No, it's true. Yeah.
They glorify the VC world and they want to get there, and they're just like, usually for them to get there, they have to be at some high level where they've done some like personal investing on their own and like have to sell their way into that role. So no, I think that's like a jump that a lot of people wish they could make but can't.
Obviously I'm running a company now, and I feel like I have the very, very fortunate position to have folks involved as investors that have actually operated before, have sold, have run sales teams. And I can tell you it is a world of a difference when you're talking to somebody that fundamentally gets it. And there do seem to be more and more companies. I think go-to-market is becoming more important even earlier in the life cycle of companies. And so I think to have folks that understand that and have been there before makes such a big difference. At least it does for the founder. I'll be honest, I'm less stressed. I don't feel like I have to educate them on what sales actually means or what go-to-market means.
When marketing became data-driven, it elevated its status. Right? I don't know if that was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, but maybe sales can have its moment. I don't know what the transformation needs to be, but for it to be a more glorified function.
We're working on it.
Well, it's an interesting point because I think in some places, sales, like you were saying, is still kind of a dirty word, or like it just has a negative connotation to it.
I think it would take $2.5 million in a writer's room and let me go make a show about it so that it's no longer Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, old white guy car sales.
Yes.
It's more millennial Gen Z, like people who went to college type sales, which is what it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
People literally don't know that.
Yes, we've got a lot of educating to do. And I think the other fascinating thing, or a really interesting thing, is the entry point that I think some of the most successful people in sales have is not deliberate. It's not that I even knew about B2B sales, or I wanted to go do that. It's I really didn't know what else to do. I kind of fell into it, and then I realized,
yeah,
like
I fucked up.
Yeah, it's like where I thought I fucked up, I actually didn't. I've landed somewhere where I can apply my skills and honestly make a lot of money, learn. And so I think approaching it from that perspective would be interesting. And I don't know when that moment will be. Maybe when what Ross just described is live and it's available on Netflix. And
it's going to happen. I mean, yes. I think I didn't know I was doing sales at Oracle until day one, until my first day of Sandler training. Like business development, I like to develop some business. I just didn't know what that meant. I didn't know that meant cold calling.
Cack, usually we have folks share some pretty crazy stories. And I don't know which episodes you listen to, but in sales, it's generally not hard because there are some interesting stories that come up. So I'd be curious if there's anything you can share either from sales. And if you can, I would love to open the door on how that then translates into this crazy stories of venture, because we know there are some crazy stories there and none of those are really being put out into the open.
I mean, crazy stories. What kind of crazy stories?
I think Ross can start.
Well, there was the guy at Oracle who got fired for expensing his client entertainment at Gold Club in San Francisco. Tried to put like $50,000 and expense it. To be fair, he did close like a multi-million-dollar deal. We had a sales manager get fired for duct taping his reps to their chairs and then the phones to their hands. So they would stop like fucking around on the other floors. There was like a liquor cart that got pushed around. It's not that crazy. It was what happened after that got weird. But like I feel like at least, and maybe you feel like this, Oracle of like the 90s was just a different beast than like Oracle
they
of
had
the 2000s.
zero caps on accelerators. I mean,
Yes.
I think they made
the reps were making millions and millions of dollars.
Truly millions of dollars. No, crazy from Oracle. No, I mean, crazy to me from Oracle is that some of my colleagues from 2009 are still there.
That is crazy.
That is mind-boggling.
Complacency is kind of nice though sometimes. Why does one leave one venture place to go to another? Like, is it literally the same exact friggin' thing at a new place? You just ideally make more money or have a title change?
You think startups are different. Venture firms are a whole different amount of different. That's not a very good sentence.
No, but I liked it. So continue. Please say more because I don't know. I think we need to know because I don't know.
Venture firms differ obviously in terms of, well, venture capital is not one thing, right? Venture as distinct from private equity suggests that venture is one thing. Venture is many things. Venture is pre-seed and seed, and that's like high volume and high intuition and ton of on the ground work helping founders, which is distinctly different from late stage growth equity, or in IVP's case, mid to late stage. That's, I might meet 5 or 10 companies a week, not 25. And our level of engagement with a given company, we just work with a ton fewer companies, so you can give a lot more. Those are completely different jobs. So venture isn't one thing, that's for sure. I think, so firm to firm, you have different fund models, right? You might invest, you have a $100 million fund versus a $2 billion fund. Those are going to be different. Right. But I think where they really differ is these are partnerships for the most part, not C Corps. So it's a combination of personalities, and the output of a venture firm is decision making, right? You're just deciding yes or no. Should we spend more time with this company? Should we invest in this company?
Some heavy ego management is what it sounds like.
I mean, it's a lot of EQ with a lot of IQ, like theoretically very bright people are focused on.
I love how you qualified it theoretically.
Well, at first, I mean, IVP, everyone's very, very, very bright.
You can close your door and say that again if you want.
So
we all know the truth. It's cool.
Firm to firm, the dynamics can be very different.
I'm thinking about this from the perspective of, okay, if I'm in sales, I don't know much about venture. I work at a company, whatever, we just got some funding. But as you're talking about the fund sizes and stages, is it like SMB versus mid-market versus enterprise?
Yeah. If you overlay startup company land onto venture, different venture firms, different stages, styles, scales, like have different product market fit. What is strategy? It's making deliberate choices of what you do and you don't do. Product market fit for us is not pre-seed. It's not seed. It's not pre-product. Like, we're interested in taking the risk on, can you scale the heck out of your business?
So I wasn't intending on talking much about venture or the investing world on this session, but just given your experience and the path you've been on, and combining that with this thread that we talked about quite a few times, where folks are buying, they'll raise a lot of capital, hire up or scale the sales team, only to have to let them all go a year or two down the road. What is your take on what the heck is happening right now?
That hasn't been a theme for me. Not like, let's raise a bunch of money, hire a bunch of people, and then fire them all because it's not working. Certainly that wouldn't be our suggestion. Back to your prior point of like investors opining on what people should do with go-to-market, having never done go-to-market themselves. Like, I try not to give too much advice, but for them, I would generally suggest, let's start small and like test a few sales pods before we hire 100 people.
No, but I think what you see, it's not so much like that you fire 100 reps because they weren't successful. It's that the company still has its best year ever, best quarter ever, and all the reps are failing by like metrics of quota. The company from the high level is like, oh, great, we're killing it. But the people are not killing it on an individual level.
Yeah.
No more sales reps making $1 million.
Yeah, true. And some of that you do see at the board level because you have the board approved plan, you have the company approved plan, and those are different. And like the optimal, boards for the most part are sort of ruthless, and the optimal they're not actually looking for 100% of quota carriers to hit quota. Like
Right.
for them, success is like 55, maybe 60% of quota carriers are hitting quota. So inherent is that is 40% aren't, and you know.
But do they even care about the quota, or do they care about that revenue number getting to a certain percentage?
I mean, they care about the revenue
year-over-year?
number. They care that there is enough headcount to make up the revenue number. And
Right.
then depending on the stage and how well the company's doing, they care about the profitability of that spend. So,
Right.
you know, magic number, people care. Quick ratio, people care.
Well, okay. So I was looking obviously at your many accomplishments, 3-time academic, all Ivy. Like, what happened in that 4th year where you didn't get that? Were you going through some stuff? Were you training too much? Parents?
You know,
You
it's
only
nice.
have 5 athletic records at Princeton.
It's nice that you think it's 3 out of 4. It's probably actually 3 out of 12 because I'm a 12 season athlete. So I would have been in contention for all academic, all Ivy.
Okay. You
12
run in 12 different ways.
really-
Okay.
So I really, I was at 25% hit rate, not 70.
So how much do you think like your athletic upbringing translated into like sales success? I mean, I think it's like direct. It's a direct correlation.
Yeah, direct. Like every ounce of energy I put into sport, I think I got out of it in career.
So what was your mile time?
Well, we ran the 1500, so it's converted, but my mile time was like
Don't do math at me because I don't know what that
4:30.
means.
4:31.
Yeah, that's good. So one of the things we do here as we like wrap this up, and I feel like you're gonna have a good one because you're an athlete and you definitely have a song. So we do 2 songs. One is like your go-to pump up song, whatever, you're in your last lap, very end, like what's gonna get you there. And then we have your sad song. But let's start with your absolute pump up, huge deal today, or you're competing.
My honest answer would be like listen to Enya.
I mean, there's something to be said for Enya, okay? I've listened to that more recently than I like to admit. I don't know why Enya comes up all the time.
So, Enya, highly pump up. No, I do love me some Lady Gaga.
Mm-hmm.
So Million Reasons is a favorite these days. My downer music is probably like not listen to music, just go
Sit in silence and stew.
be agitated and sad. But then maybe I too would listen
And then
to
Enya again. And then Enya again.
She's a constant.
I appreciate your time. I really appreciate you
This was
jumping
fun.
on
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.